Hi everyone, Max Sheffield Baird here. I did want to discuss what goes into my annual review and my strategic planning before I even touch my marketing strategy and my campaigns. I know we've talked about marketing strategy quite a bit in the other videos. Strategic planning, that goes hand in hand. I'm going to be honest, an annual review it's really, if you're starting any business and you've been in business for 6 months to a year at this point, it's really a non-negotiable, even if it's not really quite as fun as some other things. I was actually going to bring up, I put mine in like a spreadsheet, but I realized that there's not enough details for it to make sense to anyone else but me, and there was also some client names and information that needed to be confidential, so I'm not going to use that, but I will talk a little bit about what I ask myself and what I think about and what my findings were for my own annual review. I think if you're looking to get started with this, my very first business mentor, Rachel Cook, who I will drop in the description, she does what's called a best year ever challenge. It starts in October, but I think it's on demand. I think that people are still able to access that. And out of the 5-day challenge, the first day is the annual review. And that template is what I like to use as my starting point, but it's fully fledged out. You don't really have to do much to change it unless you have some really specific niche needs. But things that I'm looking through with my annual review is like, what wins should I celebrate? I think that there's a lot of looking ahead. Weird fun fact, because I love mythology and I love just random facts like this. So January is named after Janus, right? Who was the Roman god of beginnings, but Janus is always shown as two faces. One is looking back at the previous year and one is looking forward to the next. I think that's what we should be doing. And I think that if you have a gratitude practice, you can really look through some of that to see what wins you have, but what worked for you? How did you put yourself out there? For me, it was how many conversations did I have? I really wanted to just connect a lot with other people and be inspired by them. So I gave myself a challenge of 50 conversations in a year. We'll get to some of those pieces and how I did in a little bit, but it's also like some of the more nitty gritty, like how many inquiries did people make? How many of those inquiries resulted in clients? What was the main source for your paying? What particular offerings seemed to do the best? What was your audience growth? What platforms were you most active on? This is, as we talked about in a previous video, like the lagging stuff. Also, let's think about energetically. What content did you enjoy creating and that people responded to? So putting myself out there, I also wanted to look at how many networking events did I attend, because for me, face-to-face connection is really important. Not only is it how I often get clients and it's how I get the majority of my clients, but as an extrovert, especially coming out of a pandemic, 2022 was that opportunity to kind of not go back to normal, but to go back to in-person. And I really wanted to make that a priority because it wasn't really something that was a huge priority in 2020 or 2021 for obvious reasons, right? Nobody was really doing a lot of that. For me, for like energetically with my content, I really feel like live streams were the most enjoyable, even though, and this is what's interesting about that, is I only started doing that in mid-November. So I don't have a lot to go on with that, but like from an energetic, enjoyable standpoint, I can just jump in. And like I have a topic and I'm just going to maybe ramble a bit, and not that I don't do that a bit on YouTube, but YouTube is a little more, and I think it should be. I think when I'm recording a video versus streaming something live, there's usually just more structure just inherent to that. But there's also the idea of knowing what you need to adjust, what didn't work for you. I think that this is good to look at quarterly, but at the very minimum, you should be looking annually, because you don't want to keep working on something that is just not a fit, it's not working, it's not having the results that you were expecting. For me, it's like even just knowing my numbers, like my financial numbers. I'm not great at that. I'm learning that I need to do better, because to hit some of my goals in my personal life, I'm going to need to know those numbers. And for strategic planning in general, I planned 2022 in September, even though I started like coming back to my business full time in February. I think I did a little bit, but I didn't do it in as structured of a way. That's what's good about, I think, the Best Year Ever Challenge is it's very structured of annual review, what planning for your life aspect, then planning for your business, then planning like from a monthly basis on your business, like all of these different, like it's very structured. And I need that. Not everybody needs that. I need that. I need structure. And really, I think waiting until so late in the game to actually start planning really shot me in the foot. So I will say, don't let intimidation stop you from being just more intentional. Because of that, I realized that I was reacting. In my life, personally and business, I was in a reactive mode. And when everything feels like a priority, because again, you're in reacting mode, nothing is. My business expenses outpaced my income. My income I'm really happy I've made more in my business than I ever have, which isn't saying a whole lot. I had a 5-figure year, which is great, but like I'm in the low 5 figures where I could be much higher. But again, I chalk a lot of that up to being reactive and not having systems in place. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the actual annual goals. But thinking through how it felt from this professional level. And it's not unusual for people's expenses to outpace their income. In a new business, some of that was bleeding over and causing me some stress. So I do need to look at that. Not that it's bad to invest in your business, but looking at how I can be more strategic maybe with some of that. There's also, the annual review also comes, there's a personal level to that. How often did you recharge and take time? What was your mood throughout the year? Of course, it's not going to be one mood, but what was like a theme for you for that? How often did you feel burned out? Did you ask for help when you needed it? What beliefs about yourself did you work through? What aspects or relationships in your life fed and energized you, and which obligations drained you? For me, I know we're talking a lot about me, but I just want to give you clear examples of like, this is how the annual review bleeds into the strategic plan and how they are intertwined. Also, I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to use myself as a story. Looking back at last year, I definitely overworked myself. I was always on, always trying to get things done, but it felt like pushing a rock up a hill. I often struggled due to some unexpected personal financial challenges and some client work that wasn't steady. Like on a personal level, my car was causing me so much anxiety because it's older. It has over 200,000 miles. And there was one point that it needed to be towed 3 times in 6 weeks. It was awful. It wrecked my mental health. It wrecked my finances. It was pretty bad. As I talked about with the business side, I'm always being on and always feeling like I need to get work done because wasn't strategic about how I was using my time or of what I needed to work on. I'm a notorious list maker. I don't know if anyone else is. I've had partners who have like made fun of me for it gently, but I'm a list maker. But the problem with a to-do list is there's no inherent ranking of priority on the to-do list most of the time. You have to like mentally look through the entire list and see what's time sensitive, what's not. That's not you're not as productive as you could be if you're just working off of a list, I believe, from my experience, and has a different productivity style. So I don't want to speak for other people, but that's been my observation. I'll say this though, I did a much better job this year of asking for help when I needed it. From support from family, friends, my community, and also enforcing my boundaries and what I will tolerate and what I will not tolerate. I've also put just a lot of work into my own personal healing, my relationships, my community, and my mental health is better for it. I will say there are definitely periods where I was depressed, I was burned out, I was exhausted. When I knew I was at the end of my rope, I knew that I'm like, okay, I need to reach out to somebody. Not necessarily to ask for anything, but just to somebody. Towards the end of the year, burnout was definitely taking a toll on my physical health. I actually got diagnosed with something that's called orthostatic hypotension. It just basically means that my BP drops like a rock when I move around too much, or I change positions, or I bend over, and I get just really dizzy and faint. And I think I'm potentially prone to that in general, but I really think that the root cause of why it was getting worse this year was that I was just not taking care of my body. But as I've gone through my own healing, I've also had more awareness of what actually feeds me and feeds my soul, recharges me. And for me, I realized that was when I'm out in nature. Like, I went on a camping trip in October, and that was really great for my mental health. I've been trying to go hiking with my son a little more often. Maybe not as much as I probably should have been, again, because like I said, I was just always working or always feeling like I needed to work. But other aspects of feeling recharged is unplugging from my devices, also engaging in my creativity. And I know that sounds silly because what I'm doing right now, recording this video, I'm very creative in my job, but doing something with my hands, like a hands-on project that's not necessarily related to anything with work. I like to decoupage and paper craft, and I don't know if you can see right here, but here's all my crafting supplies. I'm actually working next to them because I feel like that will maybe make me more likely to want to do it after work. With the help of breath work, and I was doing that with Rising Phoenix Breathwork with Stephanie and Zamora, I really started to feel safe in my own body again, which is really incredible because I've had decades of trauma, 3 years of therapy, including EMDR. I've dealt with a lot of that, and through those breathwork sessions, and especially the first one was just, I don't think it's, I'm going to say life-changing, because even though life-changing, you're like, really life-changing? Yeah, I don't think I'm overestimating or overselling it when I say it was really life-changing for me, because it's one thing, therapy helps you up here, but I don't think it helps you as much in your body. It's just not somatic in nature. There's only so much you can get through, I think, via talking. EMDR helps to a point, but breathwork really unlocked a lot of the beliefs that I was having. And I really started to internalize, not just knowing to ask for help, but actually being truly receptive to the support that others offer me. To really believe that I have something to offer the world. And I don't necessarily know I would even be recording on YouTube had it not been for breathwork helping me through a lot of those really heavy, like, mindset stuff. I don't know if you're spiritual or woo-woo, but I am, so you'll have to roll with it a little bit. There's lots of times where we know the right thing to do and we don't do it. And that's where it comes down to the mindsets. And there's a lot of scientific stuff that bases, like, if you have trauma, and I looked a statistic from the VA, from the Veterans Administration here in the US, is 50% of women and 60% of men will experience at least one traumatic event in their lifetime. Again, not necessarily everyone develops PTSD, but trauma is prevalent in our culture. It changes our brain chemistry, even if we don't fully understand it, because of course, a lot of this is happening unconsciously. So I do think that there's something to be said, again, from both like the woo and the scientific standpoint of thinking through what beliefs are holding you back or are actually serving you, or evaluating the beliefs that you carried through the year and what to let go of, and like what to adapt, or what type of beliefs do you want to bring into the new year. So from there, I'm gonna switch gears into planning, because I don't do resolutions anymore. Like most people who have ever written down a New Year's resolution, I could not really achieve them. Would give myself way too much to take on. I have looked through like old notebooks. This is why it's great to keep your notebooks. And there'd be sometimes 15 to 20 goals for the year. And almost all of those required some sort of daily action from me. Like working out, like meal prepping. It's like, you're just not going to do it because you cannot make that many changes all at once. It's just, that's not how our brains operate. I don't even think that I would even give them a second thought past February, to be honest. So instead I focus on, this isn't so uncommon that's going to blow anyone's mind, but I focus on having word of the year. And then sometimes it's just the one word, and other times I have one word and there's like underneath there's like the desired feelings that I feel like are supportive of that word. So for me, I literally like this concept because it's a lot more flexible. I feel like it focuses you without limiting you. And we have to understand 12 months is a long time. A lot can change in 12 months. Having a resolution for a whole year, it can limit you because that might not even be relevant anymore. The year changes, our understanding of our word can change with it. Instead of having a physical goal, it's more like just having an objective of what does alignment look like with me? And when you choose your word, how am I going to say it more in line with that word? So that's how I think about it through that way. And if you've ever heard of the Desire Map by Danielle Lepore, she coined this term, core desired feelings. I've heard the word of the year, focus word, power word. I don't know, a lot of people I think have come to that understanding. So in 2021, my word was evolve. And holy shit, did I ever. In 2021, I changed my name to Max. If you don't know yet, I am non-binary, I'm gender fluid, so I changed my first and my middle names. Wild is my middle name, by the way. I got a divorce, and it was a rough and toxic relationship that I walked away from with my son. Was housing insecure for a piece of that. I finally moved. I actually graduated with my bachelor's degree in marketing after freelancing before that. So yeah, it was just a lot. It was a lot. Moved into my own home for the first time. My dad has cancer, but I got to bring him to Kansas City for Christmas, in the Christmas of 21. And he got to meet my son. Because of COVID, he had not even met my son. And so he got to not only just spend Christmas with us, but get to really spend time with his grandchild. So I really love that I was able to do that for him. Sometimes be careful what word you choose, because sometimes you're like, ooh, was I ready for all this evolution? I don't know. Now I am. In 2022, my word was inspire. And so for me, it was like being inspired by other people, inspiring others. I wanted to do a bit more speaking. Inspire also is like breathe. It's another word for inhale is to inspire, inspiration. I did not do that part as much as I should have, but it's interesting that I had my first few speaking engagements this year. So I think inspire was a really on point for me to choose in the beginning of the year. And I realized that the breath, it's interesting because I never thought I was even going to do breath work. And then now I'm looking back and this is unscripted too. I'm like, oh wow, inspire. But then I just talked about doing breath work. Okay. I see you, universe. The desired feelings for 22. I don't think I had a desired words for in 21, but my desired feelings for 22 were nourished, connected, present, comfortable, and worthy. Too many words. I think that's part of it. So in 23, which is this year, my word is breakthrough. In 22, I feel like I was laying a lot of groundwork. I was planting seeds. I was getting clear and really stepping into my own message, into my own. And 23, I think, is when I'm going to break through. That's how I'm seeing 23. My desired feelings are supported, invigorated, and spacious. And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get into more of the strategic planning aspects. And then so from there, this is the theme, right? This is the umbrella. It's from there that I really started to develop my priorities. Again, not goals, priorities. And that's important for me because I don't think I was being strategic or prioritizing my time. For me, the business priorities are up-leveling my systems so I can work less, diversify into more leveraged offerings, and seek out more collaborations and visibility via outreach in the community, both online and face-to-face. My personal priorities is spending more time in nature and engaging in non-work creative projects. I feel like 5 things are the absolutely most that anyone should do. That's probably the limit. And I really wanted to make it so it was a pretty good balance, right? The 3 and 2. So 2 personal, 3 business. And really one of the business, like the systems, is going to help me create more space in my calendar. So I'm really thinking that even one of my business priorities is hopefully going to facilitate the personal more. So I'm trying to be more balanced. If you follow like tarot readings or tarot cards, if this is something that is part of your practice, my card of the year that'll start in April is Temperance. And Temperance is the balance, the 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land, the just trying to keep things integrated and harmonious. So I'm trying to keep that also with my plans and my strategic planning. 5 is a lot better and distilled down better than the 15 or 20 that I was trying to do before. So again, thinking about going back to the annual review, I realized, and again, this is partially because I didn't do strategic planning until September, I got a lot done in Q4. And I realized that it's probably because a lot of my goals lacked the urgency until the end of the year. Like when we were talking about like the 50 conversations, I started strong. In that first quarter, I was doing quite a bit, and I started to fall behind. And then when I fell behind, I'm like, that's okay. I have until the end of December. You're like, I'll catch up. Maybe you won't catch up because you get too far behind. I realized that a system that I want to start using for my strategic planning, but also for implementation. This is the thing. A plan is not helpful if you don't have a system to implement it. Like I made those goals. Those are great, but how am I going to do those things? So for this upcoming year, I'm really leaning hard into, it's called the 12-week year. And the reason why it's 12-week year is, again, like I said, I can't predict what's going to happen this summer, this fall. There's so much time. I have a toddler, right? I think that it's reasonable for me to plan 12 weeks out. In fact, I was telling somebody, I call it the flashlight method. I can literally only see as far as my flashlight goes and not any further than that. And once I got closer to the end of the year, again, I was building momentum, but you can only keep that up for so long. No one should expect you to be able to keep that up for 12 months. But 12 weeks is doable. And as somebody who's neurodivergent and has ADHD, I need some built-in self-accountability, and I need urgency, and I need deadlines, even ones that I create for myself. Like, for example, I'll give you one. I have already told myself that I am going to launch my course at the end of March. So now I have to make that happen because I put it on a video too. Somebody in March is going to start asking me, so I'm going to start working on that. So from those priorities, I made 3 goals. So for goal 1, it's a 10K month, which sounds very ambitious, but I really do think that I can get to it. My goal 2 is to set myself up to work less hours and to streamline my processes. Goal 3 is to protect myself against burnout. Again, a major problem that I was having. I think it's important to also have these goals, but connect it to my larger vision of what I want my life to look like. We need to establish, why is this important to do? If we don't have a firm grasp of, this is why I need to hit this goal, to live the life that I want, then you're probably, when it gets hard, you're just not going to push through. Another aspect that I like about using a 12-week year is these are 3 goals, but I don't have to work on every single thing in January. These are my 3 goals for this 12-week year. I'm going to reevaluate where I'm at. I'm at the end of the 12 weeks. One of the things I'd like to do is write a book. I can't write a book and launch a course. I can't do both of those things. But what I can do is look and see where I'm at in my next 12-week year and see, hey, that still connects to my larger goals. Maybe this is the 12-week year where I write my first draft of my book. I do this, I do that. It's like, you don't have to start everything in January. You don't have to necessarily know where everything fits all the time. I need structure, but I also need the capability to adapt. and be flexible in what projects I'm working on when. Another good thing about this system is you create what tactics support that goal, and you have weekly actions, daily actions. Some things are like more time sensitive. I'm gonna hold a paid challenge or hold a workshop. That's a one-time thing. It's helpful to know exactly what I should be doing every week, which is something I struggled with last year. I would look at a calendar and be like, what should I be doing? So this is why I put the daily actions first. I try to put the weekly actions second, and the one-time ones towards the end. You also score yourself weekly on how many items that you did that. That's built-in self-accountability. Like the goal is to get up to at least 85%, which I know sounds like a lot, but even doing 50% is still more than I was doing before. So it's still really good. Another thing, because balance is super important to me, my third goal is protecting myself against burnout. So this is not all business for me as well. Let me talk about what things are going to keep me recharged. Again, looking at the personal priorities and actually making them a goal and making them something I have to hold myself accountable to. If I have the built-in accountability, this is not just for business. Did I meditate? Did I go out and hike once a week? Did I do a creative project this week? It's more like prioritizing my own energy levels. And then also I put one of the things is to make travel plans. I'm originally from Florida. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. This isn't even really getting into the marketing strategy aspects. It was a little bit, you could see for my 10K month content pitching or like outreach I want to do. But as far as knowing what content I need to put out in my calendar, I did not get into that. And there is a reason for it. Because I think it's important to know your focuses for your business, what offerings that you want to promote in which quarter, in which month, before you even get that far into the weeds. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and remember, the world needs what you have to say. Thank you.